2015. There was even a group of spectators invited by the team to watch the photo shoot, and they were all men. During that trip, a group of cheerleaders were also chosen to be personal escorts for the sponsors of the team at a nightclub. The cheerleaders said there was no sex involved, but they felt the team was, quote, pimping us out. Shannon, what's your reaction?
Skip, if this is true, this is unacceptable, and the NFL needs to step in. Clearly, but I'm not surprised, because Washington, they seem to be tone deaf with this name, so I'm not surprised Daniel Snyder hasn't said anything about this, but this is unacceptable. The cheerleaders are a representation of your organization. Now, obviously, Skip, if you go to a secluded beach or a secluded location and you're going to do topless photos, obviously you did that for a reason. But to invite men to watch as you do this, that's unacceptable. I get it. Okay, you go to Costa Rica and you suite holders of major sponsors. You're going to go to have this elaborate dinner. If you want to invite, say, cheerleaders we're having the sponsors, if you want to come, we'd love to have you because you're a part of this. But to request that they go to be almost escorts, what is this? This is not this is not a Playboy model shoot, Skip, where the women get top. These are representations of your cheerleaders. And then they had an ad, I think in 2009, where 5 lucky winners would win Redskins cheerleaders to wash their car. One man asked another if he would like the cheerleaders soaping up and scrubbing off. What the hell is this? Girls Gone Wild? This is an NFL. This is the NFL, and you got this going on. The NFL is going to have to look into this, and they need to come down with a steep fine on Washington. And whomever is in charge of the Washington cheerleader squad, they got to go. This is unacceptable, Skip. You don't. I can assure you, these women did not sign up for this.
I would say not.
Well, I'll start by saying none of this is surprising. Literally not one detail that I've heard from anything that's been going on with all of the NFL cheerleader issues that have been circulating in the news lately is surprising to me. It's not just this Redskins report. There was a lawsuit with a Miami Dolphins cheerleader and a Saints cheerleader. And they've actually offered to settle for $1 and a meeting with Roger Goodell. So to me, this is the NFL's fault. And for the life of me, I can't understand why, for once, they cannot be ahead of something instead of being reactionary to something that is, to me, so obvious. Now, I come from a different place, I suppose, because I covered the Miami Dolphins cheerleading tryouts for several years. And I know many cheerleaders. I have some people who are very close to me who are former cheerleaders who have gone on to great careers. And obviously, these are bright young women who are in school, who are dancing and want to continue dancing professionally. And this is a dream for them. And it's a very rigorous process. There's shows about it, Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders. This is a very prestigious thing that teams want to be presented as such. And they portray it as if they want these women to represent the team and the NFL in a certain light. And then in the same token, you put them in these situations that are absolutely ridiculous. Now, each different team has different policies, which is the main problem. There needs to be one union and one central figure that uniformity that controls what goes on with the cheerleaders. Because, like you said, they are representation of the team. They go overseas and entertain the military. They're involved in the community. When players can't go to certain events, which we know the NFL teams are a huge part of the community that they're in. Players can't go to everything. Every request that the team gets to have representation there, the cheerleaders go, and they're a big part of that. And young people look up to them. So this idea that, you know, they ask for it, they're sex objects, they deserve it in some way. There's a complete lack of self-awareness here, and furthermore, a complete imbalance of fair practices in business and workplace etiquette. Players are held to a completely different standard than the cheerleaders are held to. They are not. Cheerleaders are not allowed to fraternize with players in any way. So in some cases, speak to them, have any communication with them, make eye contact with them, or they'll be fired. But players are not held to the same standard. That's definition workplace imbalance.
Can't post anything on social media. Can't like social media.
They ask for these women's entire identity and lives, and then they're not compensated as such. So to me, it's a simple solve. Just make it all uniform. Put someone in charge who can make the situation fair, compensate them fairly. This is a job, and you're representing $1 billion entity. No, not just a team. You're representing the NFL.
Yeah.
So the idea that this situation, especially with the Redskins, which is obviously the details of the story are to someone who doesn't understand it, completely insane, and it is. It's impractical and ridiculous, but it's not surprising. It's just disappointing.
Okay, for me, it was shocking, but I haven't followed it nearly as closely as you have lately. But for me, that this happened in 2013, I go way back to the evolution and the genesis of these cheerleaders, which was the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders of the 1960s, when that ownership group said, hey, let's take those high school cheerleaders and those outfits and let's make them Vegas showgirls. Let's use cleavage and bare midriff and short skirts, right? Let's do Vegas. And it was reported that early ownership group drilled a hole, which became a peephole, into the dressing room of said cheerleaders so that they could watch them dress and undress. That's what was happening then in the 1960s. So if this had happened in the 60s or the 70s or even the 80s, I would not be surprised. But this just happened 5 years ago. And again, there's no Me Too movement then.
Right.
Maybe we've had a complete sea change in our world for the better. But to me, that Daniel Snyder presides over an organization that would do this is outrageously wrong. And, you know, he could probably declare that he had no knowledge of this.
He doesn't get to say that.
What is it? Plausible deniability?
But here's the problem that he runs into, Skip.
Yeah.
In 1999, when he brought the team, he brought the cheerleading squad in-house.
Okay.
Before then, it was operated independently. So he can't say he doesn't have any knowledge because it's under his roof.
Okay. He has to bear the ultimate responsibility. And this team has to bear responsibility. This is so out of bounds for a commissioner who cares most about the image of the National Football League. And if there's even the appearance of impropriety with Ezekiel Elliott, you're gone for 6 games. Boom. They need to lose a draft pick for this. This is outrageously wrong. I can't believe this happened in the 2000s. You know, this on his watch. Shouldn't you lose a draft pick for this?
You, we got the sponsors, and you guys need to go with these men to. For real?
Well, they're exploiting these girls. They're putting them in a situation. It's so easy for someone to say, well, why didn't they just say no? This is your job. Your boss is telling you this is something you're required to do in order to keep your job.
In 2013?
No, some of the women probably didn't have a problem posing topless, but they didn't anticipate having an audience.
Well, they were also not presented with any of this as if it was an option.
Right.
Their passports were taken. It was not a suggestion. It was a
the Redskins got to pay for this. And I'm not talking as a Cowboy fan. I'm just saying for the sake of the image of the National Football League, somebody's got to pay a price.
To see all this stuff, this is ridiculous.
Now, the details of it are ridiculous, and just the process that these women go through, the details are ridiculous. There's no other way to say it. But the bottom line is it's the NFL's fault. There has to be some sort of institutional control over the situation. I can't put blame on any of these girls. If your boss comes to you and asks you to do something and you're in a compromised position, what are you going to do? It's very easy to say, oh, I would never do that. Well, would you? You don't know.
Of course, when you're on foreign soil and someone takes your passport and says, okay, do this.
Oh, and they weren't paid for it. They weren't paid for their week there.
Oh, man.
Well, the Sixers win tonight in Boston. We'll discuss that next.